So today I'm doing question 21 of Leetcode, merge two sorted lists. So this question is a great question to start learning about linked lists, start getting familiar with it, to kind of understand it better for further questions. This question is not so difficult once you know how to work with a linked list, but if you're looking at this question and you see a linked list and you've never dealt with the linked list before, it might be a little intimidating. So just a little heads up on that question. All right. So first thing we want to do is we want to read the question thoroughly, just to make sure that we're not missing any minor details. So what this question is actually asking for is it's just telling you that given two linked lists, you're gonna basically merge them so that it becomes one list and it keeps that sorted attribute. So here's the method definition. It's asking, in return, it's asking for another linked list given two linked lists, L1 and L2. So an approach you could take with this is create new linked list. Okay, the next thing you could do, or you should do, is compare the first element of the two lists, right? And if the element in the first list is smaller than the element in the second list, then you add the element in the first list to that created linked list, and then you move the pointer of that element in the first linked list to the next element. All right, so after we've compared the first element, we put the lowest of the two in the linked list we created. Let's just say in the new linked list. And the next step is to move the pointer of the list containing the smaller element at the time. All right. So after that is done, eventually, if you keep going, one of them will run out, and then you just dump that whole thing into the new linked list that you created. So let's just go through that and see how that would work. I don't think we're missing anything here. I think we're ready to put some code down. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So okay. So some things we have to consider before writing the main part of the code is we have to consider if any of the two lists are empty. If any of the two lists are empty or it's null, then we could just consider the other list to be the sorted list or the merged list, right? And if the other one is null as well, if we just return the other one, then it doesn't matter because there's no list, so it's just both null. So the way we'd go about approaching this is saying if, let's say, L1 equals null, then we could just return L2. Or if L2 equals null, it's not null, it's null, then we could just return L1. Right. So we've taken care of that. All right. So in a linked list, there's not a add method or some sort of add to the end method that we could use. So we're going to do this manually. And we're going to do this. And how we're going to do this is if we have a linked list, then we can always keep a pointer at the last index, and then whenever we add something to that last index, we just move that last index to the thing we just added, which is our new last index. And in that case, it makes it easier for us to add things to the end instead of going through the whole list and adding something to the end every time. So the way we're gonna do this, we're gonna create a list node. We can just call this L3. We'll set that equal to new list node, and then we'll set that equal to 0. And this list node right here will actually be just the dummy node. And I say dummy node because it won't be the head. The head is actually the node after this one that will be in this list. So let's go ahead and keep a pointer here. So if we have a list node pointer, I'll call it P3. Probably makes everything easier. Now, what we have to do is we also need pointers for L1 and L2. So I'm just gonna do list node. Actually, it might be easier if I do it this way. P3, actually, P1, P2, P3. It's just syntactical. You could do it this way if you'd like, or you could just do it all separately. So P1 will be equal to L1. P2 will be equal to L2. P3 will actually be equal to, L3. So everything's good so far. So we could just say while, let's say while the first list has element, while L1, or let's use the pointer, while P1 is not null. And then we're gonna need to move the pointer, so we know that actually we don't move the pointer unless we do the check. So we're gonna say if we're gonna check which one's bigger, the pointer 1 or pointer 2. So if P1 that value is less than, we're going in ascending order. So if P1 that val is greater than P2 that val, or is less than P2 that val, what we're gonna do is P1 is, or P3 dot next equals, P3 dot next equals P1. Well, we'll do this, equals new list node P1 dot val, and then else here, if it's if P2 is less than or equal to, we'll just put P2 in. So we'll just do P3 dot next equals new list node P2 dot val. And then now what we have to do in every single case, we have to move the pointer so that we could have space to add the next element. So we'll just do P3 equals P3 dot next. And then here, if this is the case, after we're done adding, we need to move the pointer P1 equals P1 dot next for this one equals P2 dot next. And what we're actually gonna do is if they're both not null. So if P1 and P2 is not null, we're gonna run this. And then when we get to the end here, one of them is gonna be null after the while loop. So what we do in this case is If we could just do if p1 equals null, then we can just say p3, which is our pointer, dot next equals p2, yeah, p2. Else p3 dot next equals p1. Okay, that should take care of that. And then at the end here, we could just return L3, which is our original list dot next. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and run the code just to make sure that it's running before I try and submit it. Okay, so it seems to be running. I'm gonna go ahead and submit it and see what we get. Okay, so it ran, or it passed all the tests with the fastest time possible. So this is the fastest solution. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys for the next Leetcode problem.